Another day, another story. Napoleon, The Rise and Fall of a Dictator, would be a comprehensive title for a book or an essay exploring the life, rule, and ultimate downfall of Napoleon Bonaparte, one of history's most iconic and controversial figures. The fall begins. Factors contributing to Napoleon's decline, including the Peninsular War and the Russian campaign. Welcome to Tabo Eminent Channel. Downfall. The Battle of Leipzig and Napoleon's retreat from Germany. The 100 Days, Napoleon's return from exile and final defeat at Waterloo. Napoleon's second exile and death on St. Helena. Rise to power. Napoleon Bonaparte rose to prominence during the turbulent period of the French Revolution. His military prowess became evident during the Italian campaigns, where he scored significant victories against Austrian and Italian forces. His success earned him fame and popularity both among the French people and within the military. In 1799, amidst the chaos of the revolution, Napoleon orchestrated a coup d'état that overthrew the Directory, the ruling government of France. This event, known as the 18 Brumaire coup, paved the way for Napoleon to seize power as First Consul, effectively making him the ruler of France. Consolidation of power. As First Consul, Napoleon embarked on a series of reforms aimed at stabilizing France and consolidating his own authority. He implemented the Napoleonic Code, a comprehensive legal system that codified many aspects of French law. The code emphasized principles of equality before the law, religious tolerance, and protection of property rights. Napoleon also centralized power in his own hands, effectively transforming France into a centralized, authoritarian state. While some of his reforms were aimed at modernizing France and promoting social mobility, others served to reinforce his own authority and suppress dissent. The peak of power. In 1804, Napoleon crowned himself Emperor of the French, signaling his ambition to establish a hereditary monarchy. His coronation ceremony at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris solidified his status as the dominant figure in Europe. During this period, Napoleon's military campaigns reached their zenith. He scored impressive victories against the Austrian and Russian empires, expanding the borders of the French Empire across much of continental Europe. At its height, the French Empire under Napoleon's rule exerted unparalleled influence and control. The beginning of the end. Despite his initial successes, cracks began to appear in Napoleon's empire. The Peninsular War, fought against Spanish and Portuguese forces, drained French resources and eroded support for Napoleon's regime. The disastrous invasion of Russia in 1812 further weakened Napoleon's position, resulting in massive casualties and a strategic defeat for the French army. Meanwhile, European powers formed coalitions against France, determined to overthrow Napoleon and restore the balance of power in Europe. The Battle of Leipzig in 1813, also known as the Battle of Nations, proved to be a turning point, as Napoleon suffered a decisive defeat at the hands of the Allied forces. Downfall. The final blow to Napoleon's rule came in 1815 with his defeat at the Battle of Waterloo. After a brief return to power during the 100 Days, Napoleon was decisively defeated by a coalition of European powers led by the Duke of Wellington and Prussian Field Marshal Gebhard Leberecht von Blücher. Napoleon was subsequently exiled to the remote island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic, where he spent the remainder of his days in captivity. He died on May 5, 1821, at the age of 51, marking the end of an era in European history. Legacy and impact. Napoleon's legacy is complex and multifaceted. He is remembered as a military genius, a visionary reformer, and a symbol of French nationalism. His legal reforms, military strategies, and administrative innovations left a lasting impact on Europe and the world. However, Napoleon's legacy is also tarnished by his authoritarianism, his ruthless pursuit of power, and the immense human suffering caused by his wars of conquest. Debate continues among historians and scholars about the true nature of Napoleon's rule and his place in history as either a hero or a tyrant. The Peninsular War and the Russian campaign. The Peninsular War, fought between 1808 and 1814, was a significant drain on French resources and morale. It began when Napoleon invaded Spain and Portugal, seeking to enforce the continental system, which aimed to cripple Britain's economy by closing European ports to British goods. However, the Spanish and Portuguese populations rose up in revolt against French occupation, leading to a prolonged and brutal conflict known for guerrilla warfare tactics. Meanwhile, Napoleon's invasion of Russia in 1812 proved to be a disastrous strategic blunder. Despite initial successes, the Russian campaign ended in catastrophe for the French army. The harsh Russian winter, logistical difficulties, and scorched earth tactics employed by the Russians decimated Napoleon's forces, leading to a catastrophic retreat from Moscow. The retreat from Russia marked a turning point in Napoleon's fortunes, as it severely weakened his military and eroded the perception of invincibility surrounding his empire. The Battle of Leipzig and the Coalition Wars. The Battle of Leipzig, fought in October 1813, is often referred to as the Battle of Nations, due to the diverse coalition of European powers that opposed Napoleon. The battle was the largest European conflict prior to World War I and resulted in a decisive defeat for the French army. Napoleon's forces were outnumbered and outmaneuvered by the Allied armies of Russia, Prussia, Austria, and Sweden. The defeat at Leipzig forced Napoleon to retreat westward and marked the beginning of the end of his rule. Following his defeat at Leipzig, Napoleon faced a renewed coalition of European powers determined to overthrow him and restore the balance of power in Europe. The coalition wars that ensued saw a series of campaigns and battles across Europe, culminating in Napoleon's final defeat at the Battle of Waterloo in June 1815. The 100 Days in Exile. After his defeat at Leipzig, Napoleon was forced to abdicate the throne and was exiled to the island of Elba, off the coast of Italy. However, he escaped from Elba in March 1815 and returned to France in what became known as the 100 Days. During this brief period, Napoleon attempted to rally support and reclaim his throne, but his efforts ultimately ended in defeat at the Battle of Waterloo. Following his defeat at Waterloo, Napoleon abdicated for a second time and was exiled to the remote island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic. His final years in exile were marked by isolation and declining health, as he reflected on his life and legacy. Napoleon died on May 5, 1821, and was buried on St. Helena, far from the European continent he once sought to conquer. Legacy and impact. Napoleon's legacy continues to be the subject of debate and analysis among historians and scholars. While he is often remembered for his military conquests and administrative reforms, Napoleon's rule was also characterized by authoritarianism, censorship, and the suppression of dissent. Nevertheless, Napoleon's impact on European and world history is undeniable. His legal reforms, such as the Napoleonic Code, laid the groundwork for modern legal systems in many countries. His military strategies and tactics revolutionized warfare and shaped the course of European history for decades to come. Overall, Napoleon Bonaparte remains one of the most influential and controversial figures in history, whose rise and fall continue to fascinate and intrigue scholars and enthusiasts alike. Thanks for watching. Request you to subscribe the channel.